Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lucky. I actually have two names, Nhlanhla Lucky. And my first name, pronounced Nhlanhla, is actually just the Zulu version of Lucky. So Lucky is a direct translation of my first name. So I'm actually named Lucky twice. Whether I'm that lucky, I don't know. I am from a beautiful city called Johannesburg, also known as Jozi, Joburg, and not Cape Town. This city, this incredible city, is in a tiny country called South Africa. And if you are ever in a quiz and need to figure out where that is, it is in the south of Africa. When they said that the two hardest things in computer science, one of them being naming things, this is clearly something that we as South Africans don't struggle with. Our country is known for many things. We're known for having absolutely the most incredible wildlife in the world, amazing beaches. We're known for Table Mountain, of course. And we're known for hosting the best football World Cup in history, according to verified sources. And of course, having the best rugby team in the world. Today's talk is mainly going to be me telling you about myself. The first thing that I want to tell you is that I think I am the answer to the question, what would a spork look like if it were human? See, I do a lot of things, which is normally okay, except when you have friends that then try to convince you to do a lot of things, such as friends who, despite knowing that you can't swim, end up convincing you to go diving, on the idea that you don't need to swim, you just need to sink to dive. And when you have people in your life who, despite knowing your fear of heights, convince you to take hikes in the Drakensberg mountain with views that look like this. So I end up getting myself into a lot of trouble. In fact, this one friend who knows my fear of height convinced me to get attached to a piece of rope and literally hang on the side of a cliff. While I do a lot of things in my fun time, I also do a lot of things in terms of my professional capacity. First, I am a university lecturer. I teach computer science at one of Africa's top universities called WITS. The new slogan says for good. I'm not sure if I mean like we're doing good or if you're stuck there for good. I'm also a PhD candidate at a different university called the University of Pretoria. For my day job, because none of those are my day jobs, I work for a software company called BBD. What started as a small startup in Johannesburg has now grown to an international bespoke software development firm with about almost 1,300 of us spread all over the world. And what we do is that we build custom software. We build custom software for large enterprises all over the world. My job is a little bit different. I lead a unit called ATC. Now, if I'm what a spork would be, this team is what a Swiss Army knife would be. See, the most common question is, what does ATC stand for? And a lot of people have tried to guess. It actually doesn't matter. What matters is what we do. So we are a support unit in the company. We do a lot of things. We do research and development. We do specialized consulting, because consultants always try and find a way to make what they do sound even better. So we do specialized consulting, not just consulting. We also do DevRel, which is why I'm here with you today. And we also build a lot of the internal systems that actually help us scale up. This very, very small team of 4 people is okay. My whole team is fine. You don't have to worry about them. And everything around us is absolutely okay. I also love community. And so I co-lead a meetup in Johannesburg called Jozi.js. This part is very important because the rest of this talk is just going to be me showing you how much I love JavaScript. That's the most important thing for you to know about me. At this point, I've already given you the disclaimer that I'm going to overshare a little bit, as I tend to do when given a mic. In true spirit of oversharing, I'm going to tell you about a diagnosis I got a couple of years ago. I was diagnosed with something called narcolepsy. For those of you who aren't familiar, it is a sleep disorder, I guess. So it's basically characterized by random and sudden sleepiness. So I could fall asleep right now. It's not because you're boring me as an audience. It's because I have an actual diagnosis. As someone with ADHD as well, what this means is that when I'm sitting in a talk like this or a lecture that I'm not giving, I'm in one of two states. One, I can either focus and just really be zen, or two, I'm easily distracted by what a speaker might say. So I watched a colleague of mine give a talk, and she had this slide up. The slide read, I flew my drone with Node.js, but also I crashed my drone with Node.js. Now, Jerry said a lot of very important things that day. I'm pretty sure of it. I might not be able to tell you what they were. But as soon as I saw this, I started thinking, whoa, how did she fly a drone with JavaScript? More importantly, if you could crash a drone like that, I wonder how many other ways there are that you could crash a drone with JavaScript. Let me tell you another story. Our company, like most tech companies, we enjoy celebrating together. So one evening on my way home in an Uber, a little bit inebriated, I ended up on a little-known website called wish.com. It's a Chinese website where they can ship things directly to your house for the low, low price of very, very low. And I accidentally bought a drone. I say accidentally because it took about 3 months to get there, and when it arrived, I had no recollection of ever ordering this drone. I was like, someone loves me so much, they sent me a drone. This drone is really, really awesome. It comes with spare batteries, it comes with a video, and it comes with this controller that you can use. There's one problem. I live near a school, a police station, a military base, and these are all things that you're not allowed to fly drones near, which made me owning a drone pretty useless. And so while looking at this incredible gift from the Wish gods, I thought back to Jerry's talk about how she flew a drone with Node. And so, today, I bring you 5 ways to kill a perfectly good drone for absolutely no reason. Step 1, we need to hack the drone. We need to figure out how we're going to fly this drone. And being a JavaScript developer, obviously I'm a security expert. I figured, let me try and figure out how this drone actually communicates. Spoke to some colleagues, and they said, well, first you need to inspect it. You need to see what data is being sent to the drone so that you can actually replicate the data. I said, easy peasy, Wireshark. I'd never used Wireshark before. I just had people say Wireshark, and so I went and used Wireshark. Step 1 was to try and imitate this, and then step 2 was to try and mimic it. The drone would expose a Wi-Fi network, and so I pointed Wireshark at it. It gave me screens that looked like this, that basically logged all the packets that are being sent to it. When you click on one of those, or rather, those are all the different records that it has. When you click on one of them, you're able to inspect it and see the actual packets that are sent in there. The problem here is that every time, or rather, the fact that I was pointing at the network that is on the drone. So if I'm going to build something, I need to see what is being sent to the drone and not necessarily what the drone is receiving. So a friend of mine said, no, just download this app on the Play Store. It's on the Play Store, so I trusted it. It didn't work. What it would do is that it would actually create a VPN and shut down my phone, which made it pointless, because now I couldn't send anything from my phone. But it did allow me to see that there's some UDP packets that are being sent around. And at this point, I realized that I might be in a little bit of a rabbit hole that's gone too far. And a friend of mine intervened. He said to me, your problem is that you're not using Apple products. See, if you build an app that runs on iPhone, you can inspect what's happening far, far easier on your MacBook Pro. Not to say I didn't succeed, but rather for your safety, because I care about you and this demo working, I decided to come up with a better solution, something that's a little bit smarter. I walked into our CFO's office. I said, hey, can I borrow the company's credit card? I need to buy a drone. He said, why? I said, trust me, it's important. The drone we bought is called the Parrot Mambo Mini. I've got it right here in front of me. It's a really small drone. It fits in the palm of my hand, mostly. I have big hands. The cool thing about it is that it comes with attachments. You can attach a pallet shooter so that, can fire it at the students that are not paying attention in my class. It's also got a camera that you can attach and a claw. So on those really, really hot summer days, I might be able to fly this drone to go pick up a beer for myself. The cool thing about this drone is that it had two means of communication. It had both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And because I'd already exhausted so much research effort on Wi-Fi, not because I couldn't get it working, it's because this is about exploration, I decided to focus on Bluetooth. It has a Bluetooth low energy module. BLE is a little bit different from traditional Bluetooth in that instead of transferring large amounts of data, it's designed more for short packets or short amounts of data that we send over time, thereby preserving our energy, allowing us rather to power these devices for years and years on end without needing to replace their batteries. It means that the applications are different. If you think about buses driving through and connecting to bus stops to figure out where they are, these are the type of applications that we could work here. The cool thing about it is that we can also have, I think, up to 20 devices connected to a Bluetooth. Modern things like your headphones, your smartwatches, most of them will use Bluetooth low energy. While I was thinking about this, a web GDE gave a talk. His name is Mike Geyser, and he had the slide on his talk. It read, "What should the web do?" And I found it interesting that web developers were still debating this, because users have decided they wanted to do everything. I'm users, and I hate apps, especially single-use apps. Download our app to order your meal. It drives me nuts. Just make it a website so I can use it once and forget that it ever existed. And so today, most of the demos that I'm going to show you are going to be based on the browser. So without wasting any more of your time, let's start at number 5 of perfectly good ways to kill a drone: JavaScript. My favorite thing about JavaScript developers is that they like building things. And so it doesn't matter what you're looking for, just search its name, add JS to the end, and chances are there's a script for it. I did just that. I found the script by Peter O'Shaughnessy. It was called Web Bluetooth Parrot Drone JS. Loved it. I then modified it, added some upgrades to it, and I came up with these 2 scripts. What this meant is that all I did was I split out some of the code into logical blocks, and that means rather that I can now write code that looks like this. And by extrapolating that out, it means that I could build a whole range of demos on top of Peter's foundation. I could tell the drone to move left, right, flip, forwards, and backwards. This foundation is basically the core of everything I'm going to show you. So you're just going to have to trust me. I won't give you a demo of it. And we'll move on to number 4 promptly: getting it to mimic other devices. I promptly went to MDN Web Docs, and I found my favorite section. This section is where they detail all of the browser APIs that are available, and especially some that are still experimental. And my favorite here is an API that allows you to detect or get access to the sensor data in your phone, which means that your smartphones, we can get things like your gyroscope, your accelerometer, your ambient light sensor, and we're able to see if the device that you're using is actually capable of supporting this reading. So I decided to focus on the accelerometer. The idea was pretty simple. I'm going to read my phone's accelerometer data and try and get the drone to mimic my phone. To instantiate it, it's a simple single line of JavaScript code. To start reading, you simply write .start. You can't read forever. You need to stop at some point. And you simply have a callback function that you can pass in that gives you that data, streams it in as you get updates, and you can do what you want with it. And this would allow me to then use my Android phone, move it around, and then send those coordinates or send the data directly to my drone using Web Bluetooth. Which means as I move my phone, the X, Y, and Z values, so these are the values that I get from the phone, they would change every single time I moved this around. Now, this was a very, very dangerous demo. And so what I have for you is a video of it. So you'll see when I flip my phone up, the drone takes off, I lean it forward, the drone moves away from me, and when I put it down, the drone tries to land. I promise you that we'd be killing the drone. And at this point, I walked into the office and I said, guys, you have to see what I've done. I can get my drone to mimic my phone's movement. And the team said, cool, but can you fly it with a banana? And they laughed and they walked. And they left me there thinking, why can't I fly it with a banana? So at number 3, we're going to fly this drone with bananas. I miss my drone, and I've done a lot of talking. So how about we do a live demo? I've got my drone in front of me, and I've got a very small circuit over here. I'll just put it there. I've got a circuit that was not difficult to get through airports at all. It looks very interesting. Maybe I should have gone with different colored wires, but we made it here safely. So in front of me, I also have a few bananas. These are real bananas. Disclaimer, I bought them here. So if this demo doesn't work, Danish bananas. And then I've got Node running, or I've got VS Code open. I'm just going to put it on the screen. Yeah, we don't need to. I'm just going to run my website for you quickly. It is the most beautiful website you've ever seen. Get ready to be impressed. I'll just start my server, and there we go. The best website ever. It's called Lucky's Drone Command Station. What this website does is that once my drone is on, I should probably connect my bananas first. So what we have here is 3 cables and 3 bananas. So we're going to go through the very scientific process of connecting these. I'm going to take the wire and stick it in there. I've got 3 of these, just in case one doesn't. I'll go for the red one. And then, just to make sure they match, I'll stick in the last one over there. And I also then have this beautiful website. And if the drone turns on, you'll see that it's flashing green, which means that it's ready for a connection. I then use Web Bluetooth to look for this drone's characteristic, because you can imagine how many Bluetooth devices there are in this room. And once I've got that paired, it should be solid green. And then when I click takeoff, the drone should take off. Drone, take off. Let's try that one more time. Demo gods. I didn't sacrifice to them today. We'll click pair. Looks connected. And the drone takes off. It also means that now, when I touch this banana, I can actually move it. And when I touch the other banana, I'll move it back towards me. Maybe come back a little bit more. That's too far. The cool thing about flying your drone with bananas is that you can also get it to do much more interesting movements like that. I only have 3 bananas. I forgot to bring a landing one. Let me move that. Let's see if I can catch it. Or not. There we go. Thank you. Cool. It got a little bit hotter here for a second. I'll just put that on charge so that we don't kill the drone while I tell you more fun stuff. At this point, I was excited. I walked to the team and I said, look at this. They were amazed. So the natural question is, not why, how? It's very simple. The first version of this used a Arduino Uno board because I really wanted to do it as cheaply as possible. But what I have today in front of me is something called a makey-makey board. And what this board does is that if you ground any of the pins, so if you connect them to ground or you short-circuit them, they will fire off keyboard events. So the code for this is actually pretty simple. All it does is that if someone's pressing WASD, send these different instructions to the code. So the first demo, or the first version of this at number 5 with JavaScript, I just built on top of that portion. And what this little circuit is doing is it's just firing off different keyboard events. The first version of it, using an Arduino, actually used the serial comms, because that was the only thing I could get across. And so I could read specific ports and get those different numbers, 1 or 2. And that's how I decide whether to fly the drone left or right. At this point, I was quite chuffed, very, very, very excited. And I went to my team and I said, I've done this is cool. And I also showed it to my mother. My mother was really impressed the first time I showed her. The second time, she started getting worried. So I asked her, what's the problem? She says, you're wasting a lot of food. They are hungry children in Europe and America, and you're playing here with food. I said, okay, fair. What would you have me do? She said, anything that doesn't involve you wasting food. So I figured, oh, what if I try and fly it without touching anything at all? So my undergraduate was in game design. So I studied game design, and I did a little bit of electrical engineering. My particular interest is in a niche field called human-computer interactions. I really find the keyboard and the mouse such powerful interfaces, but they haven't changed in such a long time. So my master's research focused on challenging the idea that a physical device my master's focused on how we decouple physical platforms and devices from their interfacing devices in order to make the whole gaming industry much more accessible. If you think about people with accessibility needs, they might need to build and customize their controllers to play a game for every single console that comes out there. But if we were able to build these in a standardized manner, the same way we build API for our backend systems, such that anyone can build and sell controllers or interfacing devices, we might actually make this much more accessible from a cost and a usability perspective. It also means that we're able to build much more hobbyist-type controllers and allowing us to actually use it with way more devices out there, such as our TVs and pretty much everything else. The underlying technology is the same, so why don't we empower people to actually explore more? And so, in light of this, I decided I'm going to try and figure out how to fly this drone without needing to touch anything. And a friend of mine left his Leap motion sensor out in my garage, and I borrowed it. This was 5 years ago. The Leap motion sensor is still in my bag now here in Copenhagen. This device is really, really awesome. What it does is that it's able to map out your fingers, and it's able to give you these values as vectors, which means you can aggregate them and pretty much figure out how someone's hand is positioned with pinpoint accuracy. This thing is absolutely incredible. There's one problem. I built this demo a while ago, and the developers no longer support this device, which meant that all of the libraries that I need to run this demo are gone, and I can't find them anywhere. They keep telling me that I need to buy the latest device. And so I realized that it would be very embarrassing if I came all the way to NDC and I didn't show you how to fly a drone without touching anything. So I did what any self-respecting software developer would do, and I vibe coded an alternative. Opened up VS Code last night. I said, what's the worst that could happen? And we have a demo. GitHub Copilot called this demo hand pose. I'll tell you the idea, and then we'll switch to the demo very quickly. We've got our browser there again. I'm going to go to the hand pose. All I did was I told Copilot, look at the code that I've written for this fruits demo. Look at the code that I used for the Leap motion sensor. I want you to use hand pose JS, which is basically TensorFlow. And all it's doing is that it's trying to map out my hand in order to try and figure out what's happening on my screen. So what you have here is the camera, my webcam, that's trying to pick me up, as you can see. But as I move, it's basically trying to figure out what's happening with my hand. So I can twist left, can hover, and I can do all sorts of movement. The debugging of this was quite interesting because I noticed that there's never a hover. And so that's pretty much all there is. So this is a 3-prompt solution. Prompt number 2 was please fix. Prompt number 3 was please fix again with a crying emoji. And I think we mostly have a solution. How well this works, all of us are about to find out together. That's what conferences are about. It's about community. The drone is blinking once more. We can see that my browser is detecting me. I click connect to the drone. It uses web Bluetooth to find the specific characteristics of the drone. I pair to the drone. The drone's light goes solid green. I click take off. The drone takes off. And I have my hand in there, which means that I can now start rotating the drone based on my movements, or not. Can you do other movements? Forward, backwards, no? Ah, there, almost moved backwards. This is so difficult with a camera. Let's see. Left. There we go. Come back. I have no idea what any of these controls. Land. Whoa. Land. No land. I'll try and press the button. Ready. Caught it. I'm glad that didn't blow up. True story, I've never flown it with this demo before, so this is very, very interesting. It says no hand detected. I'm glad. Ah, there we go. Still works. At this point, I figured this was fun. I've done all of this, but the drone is still alive. And so I started thinking to myself, what is an absolutely surefire, guaranteed way to kill a drone? I couldn't answer this question for quite a while until I watched my baby brother fly a drone for the first time. It absolutely terrified me. I realized that very few people are actually able to control these things. And so, at number 1, to kill a perfectly good drone, let other people fly it. All of them at the same time. The idea for this demo is pretty simple. In a conference like this, I would put up a QR code or put up a hashtag rather, say for example NDC CPH, and let you tweet instructions to my drone. From all your laughs, I've discovered the hard way that this is a really, really bad idea. But I kept doing this demo until Elon Musk made the Twitter API so expensive that this wasn't practical to do anymore. Instead, I'm going to tell you something else. I already gave you a disclaimer earlier on, so you can't complain. So recently, I turned 30. Now, this is a very, very scary age. It started scaring me when my CEO told me that after 25, everything just starts going downwards. He kept pointing out that I now have a beer belly, that I now get tired when I run up the stairs, that I'm grumpy all the time. And so I decided I'm going to start preparing my body for this new decade. To do this, a friend of mine suggested that I try the gym. I'd never been to the gym before, and so last year, I entered the gym for the first time. The problem with the gym is that it can be very, very daunting for a first-time attendee. You see some really, really terrifying things in there. And so I decided gym isn't for me, and instead, I'm going to do what I truly love, which is sports. 2 sports in particular. I really, really like playing football, and I like horse riding. Not like that. Sometimes, me playing soccer and riding horses looks like that. Most of the time, it looks like that. So what it means is that I like two sports, one where the riders will pretend that they're absolutely fine even though they're injured, just to finish a race. And the other, well, with players that are known for being some of the best actors in the world. So it was absolutely hilarious when I got injured, and it was because of football. I injured my knee, my ACL in particular, and I actually just re-injured it again last month, and my orthopedic surgeon looks at me and he goes, "How are you escaping this without surgery again? You must be the luckiest person we've ever met." And I went, but yes, I injured my ACL. A cyst formed on it, so I couldn't walk properly for about 6 months. And after some treatment, I then got back. That didn't stop me. I just put a brace on it, continued going to conferences. One of the things that I've noticed, or one of the lessons that I got here, is that age changes you. Age really changes you. And I noticed several changes happen. The first is that I started being very, very grumpy. I was quite grumpy, and one of the things that made me absolutely grumpy is shopping malls. I couldn't walk, I had crutches, and I'd drive to a shopping mall and I'd see a sign outside in the parking lot that says pharmacy. So I expect the pharmacy to be close to the sign. After walking through it, only to find that the actual pharmacy is about 600 meters inside of the shopping mall, which absolutely annoyed me. While complaining about this and being grumpy, a friend of mine said, "But they have ramps everywhere." I don't know if you've ever tried using crutches on a ramp. Not very user-friendly. And so this got me thinking. I was complaining about all of this, and I got to thinking, whose fault is it? Who can I blame for making me suffer like this at the shopping mall? And it got me thinking about, who do we blame when our systems are not doing what people expect them to be doing? Who do we blame when the systems that we build are not accessible enough? Whose responsibility is it? And so before I answer this question, because it's a very serious answer, I want us to have just a working definition of what this accessibility means. So Ali, it's defined as the quality of being easily reached, entered, or used by people who have a disability. I don't particularly like this definition. The W3C has a slightly better definition for web accessibility in particular. They say web accessibility means that the website tools and technologies are designed and developed so that people with disabilities can use them. Specifically, they specify that they need to be perceivable, understandable, navigatable, and intact. This is a little bit better, but what I don't like about this is that it keeps the focus on people who live with disabilities. And it shifts away from the idea that designing for accessibility needs helps everyone. If you don't have a keyboard, if you don't have a mouse, how do you use your website? These are important questions that actually affect the bottom line. And so to answer this question of whose responsibility it is, it's pretty much everyone. We've long agreed that it works on my machine isn't enough. So why are we happy with the idea that it works for some people and not others? If we consider that almost 20% of the world has digital accessibility needs, the likely conclusion is that we're potentially losing about 20% of our revenue every time we deploy an inaccessible website. During the pandemic, I listened to the radio in South Africa, and our Minister of Health was trying to get people to sign up for the vaccine. And one of the audiences called and said, "Minister, I want to sign up, but I can't use your website because I'm blind." The minister said, "Oh yeah, you can't use websites if you're blind." It's like, that's absolute, there's recordings there. So I won't say the word. That's a lie. I'll choose that word. And I realized that if we don't build accessible things, we are not only impacting our bottom lines, but actually people's lives. If we think back to the 2000s, you could opt in to use technology. Nowadays, we don't even give people a choice. And some of the systems we build are mission critical and life-changing. And so it's important for us to think about accessibility. And in thinking about this drone and how I make flying the drone more accessible and not wasting food, I try and figure out how I could do this without moving my hands even more. Because I'm a developer and I count with a zero-based index, at number 0, with voice, I've got one more demo to show you. Is it vibe coded? Maybe. I call it speech. Just from this UI, you can tell that ChatGPT Copilot built most of this. What this does is that it uses the browser API called Web Speech Recognition. It's an experimental feature, and you can see that it keeps trying to figure out what I'm saying, and it's mapping it to predefined words. So it tells me what it heard, and it tells me what command it tried to send. So if I say left, we see that I need to say left and keep quiet. Left. We see that it picks it up and it's able to send those commands. What it means is that we can now try and talk to our drone and hopefully get it to do the right thing. You and I are about to discover this demo together. And so while the browser is still listening to me, I can still use the web Bluetooth to connect to the drone and still stream commands to the drone. So if I go take off, left, twist right, flip, no match, land, it's too loud. So I'm just going to move it away a little bit and go land. There we go. You might just be the last crowd to ever see this talk, I guess. One of the other really interesting demos that I started working on that is still in progress while thinking about accessibility is one that I call Gaze. And so what we can do is start tracking your eye positioning on the browser so that we can start interacting with the browser. This was very, very, very buggy when I tried it at lunch. And so I decided not to fly the drone with it. I keep trying to look there, but my camera is in front of me. But that red dot is trying to keep track of where my eyes are. And the idea was that I would build a screen with sort of like pre-defined portions. And then based on where I was looking, it would tell the drone to do different things. Applications for this are pretty obvious. If you've got the FVP type flight, you could control that with your phone on a browser, right? And all of this is just some of the really cool browser APIs that we're seeing hit the market. Some of them less commercially viable than others, or much more difficult to see value in, but the browser is fast closing the gap between itself and native apps. Most of you right now, your faces look like this. You're like, what on earth is going on? Why would this guy do all of this? It's a very, very valid question. One of my responsibilities where I work is to facilitate training or to facilitate learning. We changed it from providing training, and I call it facilitate learning so that we don't actually have to do anything but give people links and say, go and take this Udemy course. But one of the most common questions that I get from the juniors is, how do I become a good developer? And this question has become so much more important now that we've got AI and vibe coders everywhere. How do we truly, truly sharpen our skills? And this is important because we know that performance is affected by deliberate practice. You have to practice deliberately. And this is necessary to achieve high levels of performance. The type of systems we build are largely for large corporates, mainly in the finance space, but we also do a lot of health and public sector work. which means that it's important for us to have reliable systems. And if we think about what we do, the muscle that we really need to train is our problem-solving skill, because that is actually what we do. And if we are not constantly solving problems in different interesting ways, we'll never actually sharpen that skill. And if you consider how fast technology changes, it's not enough just to know a skill today, because it might not be relevant tomorrow. And so part of what we do needs to be really being interested in exploring technology and learning in different ways. At work, to do this, I've now built an electronics lab, despite us being software engineers. And in this lab, we've kitted it out with things like Raspberry Pis and all sorts of circuitry to try and inspire people to build fun things. In building those fun things, they'll learn a lot of software skills that we then need and use in projects for our clients. To give you an example, one of the first things that were built out of this lab is this red box. This box is awesome. Jerry built it. If you plug this box to a computer and you press this button, it will open a browser to Jerry's favorite wine store in South Africa and order 10 bottles and get it shipped to a house. When she showed us this, everyone jumped and pressed this button. Speaking about the same person, Jerry, she once told her husband that she'd like a lightsaber for a birthday. Her husband said, you're going to have to build one yourself. She came to work, told us, and we collectively built said lightsaber. I don't have audio here, but what you would hear is that based on the accelerometer, as it moves, it actually plays the swoosh sounds. Jerry's gone on to obviously talk to people about building a lightsaber. People always ask us, what does your company actually do? You guys never tell us this. Doesn't matter. We build cool things. The one thing we've learned is that playing is growth. With our tech landscape changing so much, it's important to still find enjoyment in what we do. We're so inundated with so much noise, so much hype cycle about AI taking our jobs, that we sometimes lose the point of what it is that we do, which is solving problems. And so it's important to keep yourself in there. Here's a slide that I'm trying to remember what I'm supposed to say. Oh yes, I remember now. Software engineering is a professional field now. If you think about all the other engineering fields, they've always had this level of non-deterministic nature of them. Civil engineers need to account for weather. They need to account for people not reading science and having too much load there. We're the only ones that have been dealing with deterministic machines. And what AI is doing today is really challenging us to see how do we do what we do without always having the answer. Slide, it's in your hands. Thank you very much. Keep playing safely. My name is Lucky Nkosi. Thank you. I think I have a few minutes for questions, if there are any. None. Awesome. What's your next controller? My next controller. I'm open to suggestions. I'm very open to suggestions, although after that crash, I'm not sure if we'll have a drone. True story, this drone is no longer in production, and everything I've done is hard-coded just to that drone. So I might just have to rebuild everything else. And I found this out at another conference in Budapest. The night before I was meant to speak, one of the speakers said to me, this is your first time flying with your drone. Did you just check if it still works? Because of cabin pressure, it might no longer work. And I was so paranoid, I got to my room, tried flying it and crashed it, and it didn't work the next day. So I took the drone apart and put it back together. I think there was something wrong with the sensors. So it just, as you saw, when I waved, the drone moved away. That's because of the sensor underneath it. And so I think one of those sensors was clogged up or there was a problem with it. And while it didn't work, I tried buying one. Turns out Parrot doesn't make them anymore. So this is the only one I have. So this might actually be the last time I ever give this talk. So yeah, consider yourselves lucky. Thank you. If there are no other questions. None. Perfect. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.